The annuity tax trap that steals $200,000, LIFO Rule and Medicare Surcharges. The $200,000 annuity tax ambush. 100 words, you bought an annuity to be safe, but there's a tax rule that can quietly turn it into a tax trap, and it can ambush you for well over $200,000 over retirement. Most people don't see it until Medicare premiums jump and taxes spike in the same year. Today, I'll decode that rule, show how it actually hits your wallet, and give you fixes you can use right away. We'll cover the LIFO rule, basis versus gain, withdrawal sequencing, 1035 exchanges, RMD conflicts, and beneficiary traps. And there's a simple secret step that can legally unlock more tax-free recovery later. What's actually taxed in your annuity? Basis, gain, and buckets. The thing most people miss with annuities is what's actually being taxed. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Your original contributions are your basis, your growth is your gain, and the IRS wants the gain first for most non-qualified annuities. That puts taxes front and center the moment you take money out. Let me back up and make that clear. When you fund a non-qualified annuity with after-tax dollars, every premium you've paid in becomes your cost basis. Everything the contract earns above, that is gain. Basis is non-taxable when recovered. Gain is taxable as ordinary income. Not capital gains, ordinary income. That difference matters. Now, there are two big buckets to keep straight: qualified and non-qualified. Qualified annuities are inside IRAs or workplace plans. Those dollars are generally pre-tax, so distributions are fully taxable, and basis usually isn't a factor unless you made non-deductible IRA contributions. Non-qualified annuities are funded with after-tax dollars. That's where basis versus gain really matters, because you've already paid tax on the basis. Here's the catch with non-qualified annuities. The default distribution rule is LIFO, last in, first out. That means withdrawals are deemed to come from earnings first, until all gain is exhausted, before any dollar is treated as a return of basis. So, you can feel like you're just taking my money back, but for taxes, you're not. You're taking income first. How do you find your basis? Check your original application and contract confirmations for total premiums paid. Add up subsequent contributions. Your latest annual statement often shows total contributions and current contract value. The difference is your gain. If you've had exchanges, riders, or past withdrawals, ask the carrier for a cost basis and gain history report. Don't guess. Create a one-page basis snapshot. Contract number, carrier, issue date, total premiums, current value, unrealized gain, and whether it's qualified or non-qualified. Tape that snapshot to your retirement plan binder. Why does this matter? Because if your non-qualified annuity has, say, $200,000 in value with $120,000 of basis and $80,000 of gain, your next $80,000 of withdrawals will be taxed as ordinary income under LIFO before you ever touch basis. That's the ambush. It can push you into higher tax brackets, trigger IRMAA surcharges on Medicare, and make more of your Social Security taxable in the same year. Now, interest versus principal trips people up. In a bank CD, when you withdraw principal, you're done paying tax on that principal. In a non-qualified annuity, the tax ordering rule isn't principal first. It's earnings first. Even partial withdrawals follow LIFO in most contracts. Fees don't help either. Rider charges and M&E fees reduce your cash value, but they don't increase your basis. Surrender charges don't reduce taxable earnings. They're just a haircut on what you receive. Qualified versus non-qualified feel different, so let me connect them with qualified annuities because most dollars were pre-tax. It's simplest to think almost everything out is taxable. With non-qualified, think everything out is taxable until the gain bucket is drained. Then basis starts coming back tax-free. Once the gain hits zero, Future withdrawals are generally non-taxable returns of basis, until basis is gone. Here's a quick numeric example to lock it in. You invested $150,000 after tax into a non-qualified deferred annuity. Years later, it's worth $230,000. Gain is $80,000. You take a $20,000 withdrawal. Under LIFO, that $20,000 is fully taxable as ordinary income because it comes from gain. Do that 4 years in a row and you've recognized all $80,000 of gain. Only then do withdrawals become non-taxable basis recovery. Annuitization is different. If you convert the contract into a stream of lifetime payments, the IRS uses an exclusion ratio. Each payment is split between a non-taxable return of basis and taxable earnings based on expected payout over life expectancy or period certain. That can soften the tax hit and smooth your income. But it adds rigidity, so timing matters. We'll compare these paths in a later section. A common mistake is assuming FIFO, first in, first out, or saying, I'll just take my contributions out. That's not how the tax code treats non-qualified annuity withdrawals. Another mistake is ignoring how LIFO income stacks on top of everything else you earn, which is how small withdrawals become expensive in December. Let me show you the shortcut nobody teaches. Before any distribution, run a simple LIFO estimate. Take current value minus basis to get gain. Compare your planned withdrawal to the gain. Assume the taxable portion equals the smaller of those two numbers. Then overlay your current year taxable income and see which bracket or IRMAA tier that pushes you into. 10 minutes here can save thousands. If you want a quick win today, build that one-page basis snapshot for each annuity you own. Add a line for gain remaining and qualified or non-qualified. That single page becomes your filter for every decision you make next. How to withdraw, whether to annuitize, how to handle 1035 exchanges, and how to avoid the $200,000 ambush we started with. The LIFO rule explained simply why your first dollar out is taxable. Now, here's where most people mess up. They think withdrawals come out like peeling an onion. Oldest dollars first. With non-qualified annuities, the tax code flips that. It's last in, first out. The earnings are considered on top, so the first dollars you pull are taxable earnings until that earnings layer is gone. Why does that matter? Because LIFO front-loads taxes and can ripple through everything else. Your tax bracket, how much of your Social Security becomes taxable, and your Medicare IRMAA surcharges 2 years later. It's not just, I owe some tax. It's, this pushes me into a new tier, and that tier sticks to you for the whole year. Let me show you exactly how LIFO works. Think of your non-qualified annuity as 2 buckets inside one contract, basis and gain. Under LIFO, every withdrawal is treated as coming from the gain bucket first. You don't get to the basis bucket until the gain bucket hits 0. So even a small $5,000 pull can be 100% taxable if there's still gain in the contract. Here's a numeric walkthrough. You paid $100,000 after tax. Today the contract is $160,000. That's $60,000 of gain sitting on top. You request $10,000. All $10,000 is taxable ordinary income because gain remains. Do that 5 more times, and those first 6 withdrawals, totaling $60,000, are all taxable. Only the 7th pull dips into basis and starts coming out tax-free. Annuitization is different, and this is where confusion starts. If you convert to a lifetime or period certain stream, the IRS uses an exclusion ratio. Each payment is partly basis, partly earnings, based on expected total payouts. That means a slice of each payment is non-taxable from day one. It doesn't eliminate taxes, but it spreads them, which can help you avoid spikes in brackets and IRMAA. The trade-off is less flexibility, you're committing to a payout schedule. Surrender charges trip people up too. A surrender charge is a contract penalty, not a tax adjustment. If you have $60,000 of gain and take a $10,000 withdrawal with a 5% surrender charge, you might net $9,500 after the fee, but the taxable amount is still $10,000 because it came from gain. Same with rider fees and M&E charges. They reduce value but don't increase basis. Fees aren't contributions. Once you nail that, everything else clicks because you'll stop telling yourself, I'm just taking my money back. Under LIFO, you're not. You're taking your growth first, which the IRS treats as income. And income is what triggers the dominoes. Higher marginal tax rates, more Social Security taxed, possible 3.8% net investment income tax exposure if you're over the threshold, and those Medicare premium surcharges. Let's layer IRMAA risk, because this is the hidden multiplier. IRMAA uses your modified adjusted gross income, MAGI, from 2 years prior, the SSA look-back year on your tax return. So a $30,000 taxable annuity withdrawal this year might push you into a higher IRMAA bracket for premiums that apply the year after next. That's why December, just a little extra, withdrawals can be expensive. LIFO makes that little fully taxable until gain is gone. Now, partial withdrawals versus loans. With many annuities, policy loans aren't even an option, and where they exist, they can still be taxable to the extent of gain, or create tax issues upon lapse. Don't try to outsmart LIFO with a loan hack. The ordering rules still put earnings first on withdrawals, and loan mechanics can backfire. The mistake to avoid is asking the carrier for a return of premium partial withdrawal. In deferred, non-qualified annuities, that's not how the tax rules work. Unless you've annuitized and are using an exclusion ratio, the IRS expects LIFO on distributions. Period. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Run a LIFO tax estimate every time. Pull your latest statement, subtract total premiums from current value to get remaining gain. Your planned withdrawal is taxable up to that remaining gain. Now map that taxable amount onto your current tax picture. Standard deduction, bracket thresholds, Social Security inclusion, and the IRMAA tiers. If the hit is bad, consider alternatives. Smaller staged withdrawals, annuitizing a slice for the exclusion ratio, or using other assets first. One more nuance. If your annuity has no gain, say market losses or fees eroded earnings, LIFO can actually work in your favor. With zero gain left, withdrawals are basis and generally non-taxable. The reason this works is simple. There's no earnings layer to pull from. That's rare in long-held fixed contracts, but it happens. If you remember nothing else from this section, LIFO makes your first dollars out taxable as ordinary income until the gain is fully drained. Don't guess. Check the gain, estimate the tax, and decide if annuitizing a portion, timing the withdrawal, or using another account first will save you from avoidable brackets and IRMAA tiers. This is the lever that prevents the ambush, the 10% penalty and age rules, when income triggers extra pain. Okay, so LIFO makes your first dollars out taxable. Now here's the kicker. If you're under 59 and a half, the taxable portion can also get hit with a 10% additional tax. It's not on the whole withdrawal, just the part that's taxable. But since LIFO makes most early withdrawals fully taxable, that penalty stacks right on top. Painful and avoidable with planning. Why this matters: the penalty turns a manageable tax into a nasty bill, and it can force you to sell more assets to net the same cash. Mastering the age rules lets you keep more, avoid surprise penalties, and time distributions with intention. The real-world impact is big. A $20,000 taxable withdrawal could mean $4,400 out the door if you're in a 22% bracket, plus the 10% penalty. Here's what the IRS actually penalizes. For non-qualified annuities, before age 59 and a half, The taxable portion of a distribution gets a 10% additional tax unless an exception applies. Because of LIFO, taxable portion usually equals the whole withdrawal until your gain is gone. For qualified annuities inside IRAs, distributions are generally fully taxable and also face the 10% additional tax before 59.5 unless you qualify for an exception. Different buckets, same penalty concept. Now, the exceptions. There are a few, but each has strict rules. Substantially equal periodic payments. SEPs, also called 72T for IRAs, let you set up a fixed series of payments based on IRS formulas to avoid the 10% penalty. You must continue for at least 5 years or until you reach 59.5, whichever is longer. Break the schedule. And the IRS can retroactively apply penalties plus interest. Disability is another exception if you meet the tax code definition of total and permanent disability. Death distributions avoid the 10% penalty for beneficiaries. Certain immediate annuity payouts that meet life expectancy rules can avoid penalties because they qualify as substantially equal by design. Edge cases get tricky. If your non-qualified deferred annuity is annuitized into a lifetime income stream that fits the expected payout rules, payments can avoid the 10% penalty even before 59.5 because they're considered periodic and level. But surrendering for a lump sum or taking ad hoc partial withdrawals won't qualify. This is why you map your income needs before choosing the distribution method. Qualified versus IRA annuities adds another nuance. An IRA annuity is still an IRA for penalty purposes. So the same 72T SEP framework applies if you want penalty-free distributions before 59.5. Employer plan annuity money can have a separate exception. The age 55 separation rule. If you leave your job in or after the year you turn 55, 50 for certain public safety employees, distributions from that plan can avoid the 10% penalty. But the rule doesn't carry over once you roll to an IRA. That's a sequencing trap people miss. Let me show you exactly how this bites. Say your 58 non-qualified annuity value is $200,000 with $80,000 of gain. You take $25,000 to redo a kitchen. Under LIFO, all $25,000 is taxable ordinary income. Add the 10% additional tax, and that's $2,500 more. If you're in the 22% federal bracket, you're at $8,000 total federal hit before state taxes. The kitchen just got pricier. Surrender charges don't rescue you. A 6% surrender haircut doesn't reduce the taxable amount or the penalty calculation. Fees aren't basis, and they don't change the ordering rule. The tax system looks at what came from gain, not what the carrier kept. Now, how do you avoid the extra pain? Start with an age map. List your current age, 59.5 date, any age, 55 separation opportunities in employer plans, and whether disability applies. If you need cash before 59.5, model 3 options. A small annuitization that meets periodic payment rules, a 72T SEP if it's an IRA annuity, or using other accounts with no penalty exposure first. Match the cash need to the least penalized source. This clicked for a client who wanted $15,000 at 57 instead of a taxable, penalized withdrawal from a non-qualified annuity. We used appreciated mutual funds taxed at long-term capital gains rates and staged a micro-annuitization of $400 a month to cover ongoing needs, which met periodic payment rules. No 10% penalty, smoother taxes, and no IRMAA spike. Common mistakes to avoid: surrendering a contract pre-59.5 for safety and triggering both LIFO taxation and the 10% additional tax, starting a SEP without committing to the schedule, rolling a plan annuity to an IRA, and losing the age 55 separation exception, and assuming a loan gets around penalties. In annuities, loans often don't exist, and where they do, they can create taxable income or a taxable event at lapse. Quick win. Before touching a dollar, build a one-page age and exception map. Include your 59 and a half date, any age, 55 separation eligibility, whether a life-only immediate annuity would qualify as periodic payments, and the feasibility of a 72T if it's IRA-based. Then run the LIFO taxable estimate on any proposed withdrawal and add 10% if you're pre-59 1/2 without an exception. If that number hurts, you just saved yourself by not doing it. IRMAA, Medicare, and tax brackets, the hidden multipliers. Now, you need to see how a taxable annuity withdrawal doesn't just raise taxes, it can multiply costs you didn't budget for. The two big multipliers are your tax bracket thresholds and Medicare's IRMAA, which adds surcharges to Parts B and D when your income crosses specific lines. LIFO pours earnings into your income, so it's easy to cross a line without realizing it. Why this matters: a small taxable pull can increase your marginal tax rate, make more of your Social Security taxable, and raise Medicare premiums 2 years later. That combination can eat thousands of dollars per year. And once you cross a tier for that calendar year, you pay the higher amount for the full year. Here's what counts. For IRMAA, Social Security looks at your modified adjusted gross income from 2 years prior, your AGI plus certain add-backs. Taxable annuity earnings land in AGI. So a $20,000 LIFO taxable withdrawal this year can increase premiums in the year after next. You won't feel it immediately, which is why this ambush is so common. Let's map the brackets first so you can steer around cliffs. Think in layers: standard deduction, then the ordinary income brackets, then IRMAA tiers. Your standard deduction lowers your taxable income, but it doesn't help with IRMAA because IRMAA uses MAGI before deductions. That disconnect is critical. You might be safe for taxes, but still over an IRMAA line. Now, Social Security taxation is the sneaky middleman. Up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can become taxable, depending on your provisional income. Half your Social Security plus all other income, including tax-exempt interest and, yes, annuity earnings. Add LIFO income, and more of your benefit gets pulled into taxable income, which stacks on top, nudging you toward higher brackets and potential IRMAA. Here's a simple flow you can use today. Step 1. Estimate your MAGI for the year without any annuity withdrawals. Include wages, pensions, IRA distributions, dividends, interest, and any realized capital gains. Step 2. Add the amount of LIFO taxable earnings you're considering and recalc MAGI. Step 3. Overlay the IRMAA tiers and see if you crossed a line. Step 4. Check your ordinary income brackets after your standard deduction to see if you're bumping from, say, 12% into 22% or 22% into 24%. That jump is what you control with timing and sizing. Common mistake time. People wait until December to take just $10,000 from a non-qualified annuity to cover holiday or travel plans. Under LIFO, that $10,000 is fully taxable if gain remains. It can tip your provisional income high enough to make 85% of your Social Security taxable and push MAGI over an IRMAA threshold. That $10,000 can end up costing far more than the tax on $10,000. Another mistake is forgetting capital gains interplay. If you were planning to realize long-term capital gains at 0% because your taxable income is low and within the 0% long-term capital gains bracket, a taxable annuity withdrawal can erase that 0% room and make those gains taxable at 15%. You didn't just pay tax on the annuity, you changed the tax on other parts of your plan. Sequence matters. The game changer nobody talks about is income calendaring. Create an annual income calendar with 4 checkpoints: March, June, September, and November. At each checkpoint, tally year-to-date income and project the rest of the year. If a taxable annuity withdrawal will push you near an IRMAA tier or bracket edge, you've got time to adjust. Split the withdrawal across 2 tax years. Use basis-heavy assets instead, or annuitize a slice to smooth taxable income using the exclusion ratio. Let me give you a micro story. A couple in their late 60s wanted a $25,000 RV down payment. Their planner said, pull it from the annuity, safe and simple. We mapped their MAGI and saw they were $18,000 below the next IRMAA tier. Under LIFO, a single $25,000 pull would have kicked them into that tier and made 85% of Social Security taxable. Instead, we did $12,000 in November and $13,000 in January and filled the gap with basis from a taxable account. No IRMAA jump, and taxes stayed in the lower bracket. Here's how to build your IRMAA guardrails. 1. Write your current MAGI estimate at the top of a sheet. 2. List the IRMAA tiers you're managing to. 3. Note your bracket thresholds after standard deduction. 4. Put a red line, number that's $2,000 below each IRMAA tier you care about. Never plan to land right on the line. 5. Each time you consider a withdrawal, run the LIFO taxable estimate and see if it breaches a red line. Quick win. Set a strict annual taxable income cap and a separate IRMAA cap, then automate calendar reminders for September and November. If you're nearing the cap in Q4, either reduce the withdrawal, split it into December/January, or annuitize a portion to spread taxes. And remember, IRMAA looks back 2 years, so today's move is a future premium decision. Control the sequence, and these multipliers stop working against you. Withdrawal sequencing. What to tap first to minimize taxes. This is where small decisions change lifetime taxes by 6 figures. Sequence is simply the order you tap accounts. Get the order wrong, and LIFO earnings from your annuity pile on top of income you could have taken more efficiently elsewhere. Get it right, and use smooth taxes, avoid IRMAA tiers, and keep flexibility. Let's set the frame. Most retirees have 4 main sources: taxable brokerage cash, CDs, mutual funds, ETFs, tax-deferred accounts, IRAs/401k, S-qualified annuities, Roth accounts, and non-qualified annuities. Add pensions and Social Security on top. The goal is to meet spending while minimizing current and future taxes, IRMAA, and sequence risk. Why start with taxable accounts? Because you can often harvest cash with lower tax friction. You might have cash or high basis lots that realize little or no gain. Qualified dividends and long-term gains can hit percent in the lower brackets. Using taxable first can preserve tax deferral elsewhere and avoid triggering LIFO in a non-qualified annuity while there's still gain. Now here's where most people mess up. They default to the annuity because it feels safe. But with non-qualified annuities under LIFO, early withdrawals are fully taxable until the gain is gone. So the smarter order is often use cash and high basis assets in taxable first, then fill remaining income needs from IRAs up to a tax ceiling you pre-select, coordinating with Roth conversions if you're in a low bracket. Keep Roth for last or for spikes and emergencies because qualified Roth withdrawals aren't taxable and don't hit IRMAA. Delay tapping non-qualified annuities until you've either drained gain in a controlled way or switched to an annuitized stream with an exclusion ratio that fits your brackets. Let me show you exactly how to build this. Step 1. Set your annual tax guardrails, your target marginal bracket ceiling, and your IRMAA red lines. Step 2. Project fixed income like pensions and Social Security. Step 3. In January, fill the gap with taxable account cash flows first. If you need more, take IRA withdrawals up to your bracket ceiling and consider partial Roth conversions to fully use that bracket. Step 4. Only if you still need income, look at the non-qualified annuity options. Either a small staged LIFO withdrawal that keeps you under your guardrails, or partial annuitization for an exclusion ratio that smooths taxes. This clicked for me when I watched a couple switch the default. They used taxable cash for 6 months, then topped up with a modest IRA draw that still kept them in the 12% bracket. Their non-qualified annuity stayed untouched until Q4, when we saw they still had room before an IRMAA tier. We took a $9,000 LIFO withdrawal, fully taxable, but still under the red line. Net result, no IRMAA jump, and they kept the Roth pristine for later. Here's the game changer nobody talks about: Roth conversions as part of sequencing. If you have low-income years before RMDs and Social Security ramp up, it can be better to fill your 12% or 22% bracket with conversions from the IRA instead of taking taxable annuity withdrawals. That builds a Roth pool you can tap later with no impact on MAGI or IRMAA. Meanwhile, you defer the annuities LIFO bomb until either you've annuitized or bracket space opens. Annuitization timing matters. If your non-qualified annuity has a big gain and you need steady income, partial annuitization can split each payment into basis and earnings via the exclusion ratio. That reduces spikes. The trade-off is less flexibility. So run a side-by-side, ad hoc LIFO withdrawals versus a lifetime or period certain payout. Pick the path that keeps you under your bracket and IRMAA guardrails most years. Now, qualified accounts. RMDs will eventually force IRA income. If you're pre-RMD, consider drawing enough IRA dollars each year to prevent a future bracket explosion. If you're already taking RMDs, satisfy those from IRAs with the most tax friction, and leave the non-qualified annuity alone if it's still carrying gain. If you own both an IRA and a qualified annuity, you can usually satisfy the total IRA RMD from other IRA assets, preserving the annuity's rider benefits while controlling taxes. Common mistakes to avoid: grabbing annuity cash first because it's there, triggering LIFO income and IRMAA. Ignoring capital gains, harvesting windows in low-income years. Skipping Roth conversions before RMDs and Social Security crowd your brackets. Annuitizing the entire contract without testing how payments interact with IRMAA tiers. Forgetting to coordinate IRA withdrawals with qualified charitable distributions once RMDs start. A quick win you can do today: build a 3-bucket withdrawal ladder for the next 5 years. Bucket 1, taxable. List cash, maturing CDs, and high basis assets earmarked for spending. Bucket 2, IRA/plan. Set your annual fill target up to your bracket ceiling and note Roth conversion amounts you plan to execute. Bucket 3, non-qualified annuity. Decide if you'll defer, take small LIFO withdrawals under guardrails, or annuitize a slice to smooth income. Before any move, run the test. Does this withdrawal push MAGI over my IRMAA red line? Does it bump me into a higher bracket? Do I have cheaper dollars elsewhere? Taxable cash, long-term gains at percent or 15%, or Roth? If annuity income is unavoidable, would partial annuitization reduce spikes versus ad hoc LIFO? Once you nail this sequencing mindset, everything else clicks. You stop reacting and start allocating. Taxable for flexibility, IRA for bracket management and conversions, Roth as the tax-free shock absorber, and non-qualified annuities used last or annuitized strategically. That's how you turn safe money into smart money and avoid the $200,000 ambush. 1035 exchanges, moving from tax trap to tax smart. Before you pull a taxable dollar out of a non-qualified annuity, ask a better question. Can a 1035 exchange move this contract into a smarter home without triggering tax today? Section 1035 lets you swap one non-qualified annuity for another, or a life policy for an annuity, while carrying your cost basis and deferring tax on the gain. Done right, you keep deferral, improve terms, and position yourself for cleaner withdrawals later. Here's why this matters: a high fee, outdated annuity with big unrealized gain is a LIFO landmine. An exchange can keep the deferral but reduce internal costs, add features you actually use, and improve how the contract handles RMDs, riders, and partial annuitization. You're not escaping tax forever. You're buying time and control. What exactly is allowed? You can exchange life insurance to another life policy or to a non-qualified annuity. Non-qualified annuity to another non-qualified annuity. You can't go from an annuity to life insurance. And it has to be a direct carrier-to-carrier transfer. No checks made payable to you. The reason this works is the IRS treats it as continuing the investment, not distributing it. Now, the mechanics you need to nail. Your original cost basis transfers to the new contract. The unrealized gain transfers too. There's no step up. If you put $120,000 in and the old contract is worth $200,000, your basis remains $120,000 after the exchange, and your $80,000 gain defers. That's good, no current tax, but it also means LIFO still exists. The upgrade is about better structure for future withdrawals, not erasing gain. So why exchange? 3 big reasons. Lower fees. Cutting mortality and expense charges or rider costs improves growth, which helps drain the gain by building value for planned annuitization or staged withdrawals. Better riders and flexibility. Some modern contracts allow partial annuitization, cleaner systematic withdrawals, and clearer cost basis reporting. RMD-friendly features. If you hold an IRA annuity, exchanging within the IRA can reduce fees and coordinate RMD options. 4 non-qualified contracts. Improved withdrawal options can help you manage IRMAA and bracket guardrails. Now here's where most people mess up: partial 1035 exchanges and basis allocation. If you split one contract into 2 via a partial exchange, the IRS expects basis and gain to be allocated pro rata based on values at the time of the split. If you move $100,000 out of a $200,000 contract with $80,000 gain, the new $100,000 contract typically takes $40,000 of basis and $60,000 of gain proportionally. Don't assume you can move the basis to one and leave gain behind. Get written confirmation from both carriers on how basis is allocated. Timing matters too. Historically, taking withdrawals soon after a partial exchange could cause the IRS to treat it as a taxable distribution instead of a tax-free exchange. Carriers often recommend a waiting period before distributions from either contract after a partial 1035. Ask the new carrier for their compliance window and plan accordingly. Fees and surrender schedules are the trade-off. An exchange restarts surrender periods in most cases. You're swapping old surrender terms for new ones. The quick test is total cost of ownership. Add the new surrender schedule risk, the fees, and the benefit improvements. If you're moving from, say, 2.2% all-in to 1% with stronger features you'll actually use, that's a win you can quantify. If fees go up or riders don't fit your plan, walk away. One more pitfall: exchanging into a contract that worsens LIFO implications. For instance, a design that limits partial annuitization or forces higher rider charges can reduce flexibility exactly when you need it to manage IRMAA. Make sure the new contract supports systematic withdrawals that you control, partial annuitization with a clear exclusion ratio, clean year-end tax reporting of basis and gain. Here's a clean checklist you can run before saying yes. Verify qualification, non-qualified annuity to non-qualified annuity, direct transfer only, confirm basis and gain. With the old carrier, get a written cost basis history. Ask both carriers to show basis allocation if partial. Compare all-in fees, surrender schedules, and rider costs. Old versus new. Test income options, partial annuitization, systematic withdrawals, and rider mechanics. Coordinate IRMAA planning. Does the new contract help you slice income across years? Assess carrier strength and service. You want reliability for a long-term income tool. A micro story: a retiree had a variable annuity with 2.6% annual costs and $140,000 of gain on $260,000 value. We 1035D into a lower-cost fixed indexed annuity at 1.1% all-in, added the ability to partial annuitize, and set up systematic withdrawals. No tax today, better growth net of fees, and precise control over taxable income. 2 years later, we annuitized a slice to create an exclusion ratio income stream that stayed under their IRMAA tier, while letting the rest continue growing. Quick win: request a 1035 exchange comparison from the prospective carrier and a tax basis and gain report from your current carrier. If the numbers show lower costs, better withdrawal control, and clean basis tracking, you've likely turned a tax trap into a tax-smart tool without paying the tax toll today. Annuitization and the exclusion ratio, turning on payments wisely. This is the pivot from spikes to smooth. Annuitization turns your contract into a stream of payments, and the IRS uses an exclusion ratio. So each payment is part non-taxable basis and part taxable earnings. The payoff is predictability. Instead of LIFO dumping earnings first, you blend basis in from day one, which can keep you under tax, and IRMAA guardrails. Why this matters: annuitization can lower your visible taxable income each year compared with ad hoc withdrawals, which reduces bracket creep and Medicare surcharges. The trade-off is flexibility. Once you annuitize, you've committed to a schedule. So the win is control over timing and tax character, not unlimited access. Here's what's actually happening. The exclusion ratio is simply basis divided by your expected total payouts. If your basis is $120,000 and the insurer expects to pay $300,000 over your life, 40% of each payment is non-taxable return of basis and 60% is taxable earnings. As long as you're within the expected payout window, the non-taxable slice continues. If you outlive the expectation, payments after basis is fully recovered become fully taxable. If you pass away early, unrecovered basis can get deducted on your final return in some cases, but heirs don't get a step up inside the contract. Now, let's compare payout types because they change the expectations that drive the ratio. Life only pays as long as you live. Highest monthly income because there's no guarantee period. Period certain guarantees a minimum number of years, say 10 or 20. Even if you die early, payments are a bit lower because of that guarantee. Life with period certain blends both. Joint life covers 2 people. Payments are lower than single life, but last until the second person passes. Each design sets a different expected total, which changes the exclusion ratio math. Where this helps, you're trying to avoid spikes. Under LIFO, a $20,000 withdrawal with remaining gain is 100% taxable. Under annuitization, that $20,000 equivalent annual payment might be, for example, 40% non-taxable, 60% taxable. Same cash, smaller taxable footprint that can keep your MAGI under an IRMAA tier and reduce how much of your Social Security becomes taxable. It's not magic, it's just steady, blended taxation. Before we continue, you need to understand rigidity versus control. Annuitization locks in the schedule and typically limits lump sum access. If you value liquidity, consider partial annuitization. Carve off the income you truly need, maybe 30% to 50% of the contract, to create a stable stream with an exclusion ratio. Leave the rest deferred for optional use later. This income slice plus reserve structure gives you room to manage taxes and surprises. Now, the why is clear. Here's the how to implement. Step 1. Request an annuitization quote package from your carrier for multiple options. Life only, period certain, life with period certain, and joint life if applicable. Ask for the exclusion ratio breakdown for each scenario. Step 2. Lay those options on your tax guardrail sheet. Overlay the taxable portion of each projected payment onto your MAGI and bracket map. Step 3. Choose the option that fills your spending gap while keeping projected taxable income under your bracket ceiling and IRMAA red lines. Let me show you exactly how this plays out. You've got a $250,000 non-qualified annuity, $150,000 basis, $100,000 gain. You want $1,500 per month. A life with 10 certain quote offers, $1,550 monthly. The insurer projects $310,000 total payouts. So the exclusion ratio is roughly 48% basis, 52% taxable. That means about $744 per month non-taxable and $806 taxable. Compare that to a $10,000 ad hoc. LIFO withdrawal each quarter, $40,000 taxable for the year. Annuitization cuts the taxable amount to roughly $9,672 per year at the same cash level. Very different IRMAA and bracket outcomes. Common mistakes to avoid: annuitizing everything and losing flexibility you'll want later. Choosing life only for the higher payment without modeling survivor needs and taxes on the second life. Ignoring how a period certain guarantee affects beneficiaries, and assuming annuitized income can be paused. Typically, it can't. Another mistake is forgetting that annuitization can increase rigidity around rider benefits. Some income riders are alternative payout methods and aren't the same as tax annuitization. Confirm whether your rider payments use exclusion ratio treatment or LIFO-like reporting. Heirs and legacy deserve a quick look. Annuitization choices affect what, if anything, passes on. Life only generally stops at death. Period certain continues payments to beneficiaries through the remaining term. Joint life continues for the survivor. For non-qualified annuities, beneficiaries still face ordinary income on taxable portions. If legacy is a priority, balance guaranteed periods with your estate plan, and avoid naming the estate as beneficiary to keep probate out of it. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Run a side-by-side comparison with 3 columns: ad hoc withdrawals, partial annuitization, and full annuitization. Include annual cash, taxable amount, projected MAGI, IRMAA tier risk, and liquidity. The winner is the column that meets spending with the lowest consistent MAGI, while preserving enough optionality for emergencies. Often, partial annuitization plus a deferred reserve is the sweet spot. Quick win. Call your carrier this week and request annuitization quotes with explicit exclusion ratio details for 2 options: life with 10 certain and joint life with 10 certain, plus a written explanation of liquidity provisions after annuitization. Bring those to your planner or CPA, overlay the taxable portion on your guardrails, and decide if a slice of the contract should be turned on this year or staged next January for even better IRMAA timing. Beneficiary and legacy traps when heirs pay the tax bill. Let's shift to what happens after you're gone, because annuities have their own set of beneficiary rules that can quietly hand your heirs a tax bill you never intended. The goal is simple: get money to the right people on time with the least tax and hassle. The trap is titling and payout elections that force compressed timelines, ordinary income, and even probate. Why this matters: non-qualified annuities don't get a step up in basis. The gain you never paid tax on becomes taxable to your beneficiaries as ordinary income when they take distributions. If the contract is set up poorly, they might be forced to take that income faster than is smart, pushing them into higher tax brackets, and for older heirs, even triggering IRMAA down the road. Legacy plans fail here more than you'd think. Here's the baseline. When the owner dies, non-qualified annuity beneficiaries generally have to distribute the contract under one of 2 timelines: a 5-year rule or life expectancy, sometimes called the stretch if allowed by the contract and current law. spouses have a special option. They can often continue the contract as the new owner, spousal continuation, preserving tax deferral and control. Non-spouse beneficiaries usually can't continue. They must start distributions under the rules the contract permits. Spousal continuation is powerful. If your spouse is the primary beneficiary and owner upon death, they can keep the annuity going in their name, deferring taxes, and choosing when to annuitize or withdraw. That buys time to manage brackets and IRMAA, and it avoids a forced liquidation in a bad tax year. If instead the spouse just takes a lump sum, all remaining gain becomes taxable that year. So the why is clear. Continuation preserves options. Non-spouse heirs face a different picture. If life expectancy payouts are allowed, a designated beneficiary can take payments over their own life expectancy, spreading taxable income and avoiding a big one-year hit. If the 5-year rule applies, the entire contract must be distributed by the end of year 5 following death. That compresses taxes and can collide with their personal income spikes. Think peak earning years or large capital events. You want to set up the contract to allow the longest reasonable payout period consistent with your goals. Now, trusts. Many people name a revocable trust to keep things organized. With annuities, that can backfire. Trusts aren't people, so they typically don't qualify for life expectancy payouts unless they meet strict see-through criteria and the contract allows it. Even then, the trust's terms matter. If the trust fails to qualify, the payout can default to the 5-year rule. Plus, undistributed ordinary income in a non-grantor trust can hit the top tax bracket at very low dollar amounts. Translation: heavy, avoidable tax drag. If you need a trust special needs creditor protection, control over distributions, work with counsel to draft it to preserve the best payout options, and confirm with the carrier that trust as beneficiary is accepted and treated properly. Here's the mistake that hurts most: naming the estate as beneficiary. That forces probate, delays access, and generally eliminates life expectancy options. The annuity becomes subject to the estate's process, and beneficiaries lose direct claim efficiency. Also, estate distributions don't fix the ordinary income problem. They just make it slower, messier, and potentially taxed at compressed fiduciary rates if held in an estate account. A quick how-to for getting this right: verify current owner, annuitant, and beneficiary designations. In annuities, the annuitant's death can trigger rules even if the owner is alive, depending on contract terms. Make sure owner and annuitant align with your intent. If married, list your spouse as primary beneficiary and enable spousal continuation if available. Get it in writing how the carrier handles it. For kids or other heirs, use persterpes where appropriate so a predeceased child's share passes to their children automatically. If using a trust, confirm it's drafted to qualify for the longest payout period allowed and that the carrier has accepted similar trust language before. Obtain a sample of their required trust certification. Avoid estate as beneficiary unless advised by your attorney for a specific reason. Let me show you exactly how taxes hit an heir. You leave a $300,000 non-qualified annuity with $120,000 of basis and $180,000 of gain to your daughter in her peak earning years. If the contract forces a 5-year payout, she might take roughly $60,000 per year. Most of that is taxable ordinary income until the gain is drained. Add that on top of her salary, and she's pushed into higher brackets if she's near Medicare age later. Those payouts can also influence future IRMAA. If instead she can use a life expectancy payout, the annual taxable piece may be far smaller, which is kinder to her tax picture. Common mistakes to avoid: forgetting contingent beneficiaries, listing minors directly without a guardian or trust plan, assuming a trust automatically improves taxes, and ignoring how multiple beneficiaries split basis and gain. Carriers typically assign pro rata shares. Also, mixing ownership, like a child as owner and parent as annuitant, can trigger unexpected death of annuitant payout rules at the wrong time. Quick win. Pull every annuity's beneficiary form this week. Confirm primary, contingent, spousal continuation availability, and whether your contract permits life expectancy payouts for non-spouse beneficiaries. If a trust is named, send the form and trust to your estate attorney and ask one question: does this preserve the longest allowable payout and minimize ordinary income? Update forms now. Beneficiary designations control the outcome, not your will. RMD conflicts, qualified annuities, and in-plan contracts. RMDs are the moment the IRS says, time to take income whether you need it or not. And if you also hold a non-qualified annuity with LIFO exposure, the forced IRA income can collide with your plan and push you into the very brackets and IRMAA tiers you've been avoiding. Here's why this matters. Required minimum distributions from traditional IRAs and qualified annuities start at your required beginning age under current law. The amount is based on your 12/31's prior year balance divided by a life expectancy factor from IRS tables. That RMD is fully taxable ordinary income and counts toward MAGI for IRMAA. So even if you were hoping to keep income low, the RMD shows up and uses up tax bracket space you might have intended for something else. The thing most people miss is how to source that RMD. If you have multiple IRAs, you can calculate the total RMD across all and satisfy it from any one or combination of IRA accounts. That's a big lever. It means you can leave an IRA annuity alone to preserve its features and take the entire RMD from a liquid IRA or money market instead. You still meet the rule, but you keep the annuity's mechanics intact. In contrast, you can't aggregate RMDs across account types. An IRA RMD can't be satisfied from a 401k or a non-qualified annuity. And if you own qualified annuities inside an IRA, they're part of that IRA's RMD calculation. You can still fulfill the total from another IRA, but if the annuity's contract has its own required income rider payout, you need to coordinate so you don't end up overdistributing and overtaxing in the same year. In-plan annuities, contracts inside a 401k or 403b have their own nuances. If you're still working and not a 5% owner, some plans allow you to defer RMDs from that plan until you retire, even if you've started RMDs from IRAs. That still working exception doesn't apply to IRAs. So if you're employed past RMD age, keeping dollars in the plan might buy you more time and lower income in the near term. Once you roll the plan to an IRA, you lose that deferral and IRA RMD rules take over. Now let's bring in CLACs, Qualified Longevity Annuity Contracts. A QLAC lets you move a portion of traditional IRA or plan dollars into a deferred income annuity that begins payments later. And those QLAC dollars are excluded from current RMD calculations up to IRS limits. The benefit is straightforward. You shrink near-term RMDs and push income into later years, often to cover late life needs. The fit depends on your age, cash flow gap, and how close you are to IRMAA tiers. It's a deferral tool, not a tax eraser. Here's how to coordinate this in practice. Step 1. Forecast your RMDs for the next 10 years using current balances and a conservative growth rate. Step 2. Put those projected taxable amounts onto your tax guardrail sheet alongside pensions and Social Security. Step 3. Decide your RMD sourcing. If you own an IRA annuity with valuable riders, plan to satisfy the total IRA RMD from other IRAs first. If the annuity must pay out because of a rider, subtract that payout from the RMD requirement and fill the remainder from liquid IRAs. Once you nail that, you can protect your non-qualified annuity strategy by meeting RMDs elsewhere. You avoid stacking LIFO taxable withdrawals in the same year. That keeps your MAGI lower, preserves IRMAA room, and lets you choose if and when to annuitize a slice of the non-qualified contract for an exclusion ratio instead of being forced into taxable ad hoc withdrawals. Common mistakes to avoid: rolling a plan annuity to an IRA just before RMD age and losing the still working deferral, assuming an IRA annuity must pay the RMD itself when you could source from another IRA, ignoring how income rider withdrawals interact with RMD calculations, and forgetting that taking extra from the IRA to be safe only increases taxes, and IRMAA without benefit. Quick win: build an RMD sourcing plan. On one page, list each IRA, its projected RMD, and your chosen withdrawal source. Mark the annuity as preserve if you intend to satisfy RMDs from a separate, low-friction IRA. Add a QLAC line if suitable and available in your plan. Review it each November, so you never scramble in December and accidentally trigger the ambush you're trying to avoid. Surrender, loans, and partial withdrawals, the fine print that bites. The contract levers you pull decide how much tax you actually pay. And this is where the fine print quietly bites. You've got surrender schedules, market value adjustments, free withdrawal provisions, partial withdrawals, and sometimes loans. Each lever changes cash in your pocket, but the tax ordering earnings first under LIFO for non-qualified contracts usually stays the same. So you can lose money to fees and still owe full tax on the withdrawn amount. Start with surrender schedules. Most deferred annuities carry a declining penalty if you pull out more than the free amount in the early years. A typical design might start at 7% and drop yearly. Here's the trap: a surrender charge is a contract penalty, not a tax offset. If you withdraw $20,000 and pay a 6% surrender fee, you net $18,800, but the taxable amount is still $20,000 to the extent of remaining gain. You paid the fee and still recognized income first. It hurts because the penalty doesn't change basis or reduce earnings for tax purposes. Add market value adjustments, or MVAs, common on fixed and indexed annuities. If interest rates are higher than when you bought, an MVA can reduce your payout. If lower, it might increase it. Helpful or not, the MVA changes the cash, not the taxable ordering. If the withdrawal is coming out while there's gain, LIFO applies. Don't confuse market mechanics with tax mechanics. Now, free withdrawals. Many contracts allow up to 10% of account value per year without surrender charges. People hear free and think tax-free. It's not. Free is free of surrender penalty, not free of tax. If there's gain, that 10% is still taxable earnings first under LIFO. Free withdrawals are about cost control, not tax control. Partial withdrawals are where most folks get tripped up. They feel like taking a slice of your own money. Under LIFO, they're a slice of earnings until the earnings layer is gone. Systematic withdrawals, monthly, quarterly, annual, are treated the same way unless you annuitize. If you set up $1,000 per month and you've got gain, expect $1,000 per month to be taxable until you've drained all earnings. The system doesn't blend basis unless you switch to annuitization and get the exclusion ratio. Loans deserve a blunt warning. Unlike life insurance, most deferred annuities don't offer true policy loans. Where they exist, they're dangerous. If you borrow against an annuity with gain and the contract lapses or is surrendered, the outstanding loan can be treated as a distribution, taxable to the extent of gain, and potentially subject to the 10% additional tax if you're under 59 and a half. You thought you were avoiding tax with a loan, but you just deferred the problem and made it worse. If you need liquidity, compare a small, planned annuitization or withdrawals within free limits rather than hunting for loan features that backfire. Rider charges are another silent drag. Income riders, enhanced death benefits, long-term care hybrids, these can add 1% or more in annual cost. Those fees reduce account value, but they don't increase basis. Paying more in rider fees does not create a deduction or shield earnings from LIFO. If a rider is truly solving a problem you have, guaranteed income you'll actually turn on, or a benefit your plan requires, fine. But stacking riders just in case raises costs while leaving the tax ordering unchanged. Let me show you exactly how to avoid the bite. Step 1. List your contract levers on one sheet: surrender schedule by year, free withdrawal percentage, MVA presence, rider fees, and whether annuitization is available with partial options. Step 2. Write your remaining gain at the top. That's your LIFO exposure. Step 3. Simulate 3 actions. 1. A free withdrawal amount this year. 2. A larger withdrawal that triggers surrender charges. And 3. A partial annuitization that meets your cash need. For each, calculate cash received, taxable amount, and whether you cross your IRMAA or bracket guardrails. The winner is the path that meets your cash goal with the lowest taxable amount and the lowest leakage to fees. Common mistakes to avoid: taking a surcharge-bearing withdrawal in a year you already hit your bracket ceiling, using the free 10% without checking IRMAA thresholds, assuming MVAs change taxes, and accepting a new contract with a longer, steeper surrender schedule that limits your ability to annuitize a slice when you need the exclusion ratio most. Another big one: starting systematic withdrawals without realizing their LIFO taxable first because you didn't annuitize. Quick win: call your carrier and ask 5 questions. What's my remaining gain? What's my free withdrawal amount? Is there an MVA today if I take a distribution? What are my current rider charges, all in? Can I partially annuitize? And what's the exclusion ratio on a $X monthly payout? With those answers, you can design a pool that funds your need while minimizing tax and avoiding avoidable penalties. That's how you keep control when the fine print tries to take it. Case studies: 3 real-world paths to save 6 figures. Let's make this real with 3 quick paths you can copy number by number and see how they avoid the ambush without making life complicated. Case 1. The conservative couple, ages 67 and 69, had a $320,000 non-qualified annuity with $190,000 basis and $130,000 gain, plus $900,000 in IRAs and $180,000 in taxable funds. They wanted $30,000 extra for travel this year. Their planner said, just pull it from the annuity. Under LIFO, that $30,000 would be fully taxable and push their MAGI over the next IRMAA tier, while making 85% of their Social Security taxable. Instead, we mapped their year. They were $22,000 under the IRMAA line. So we split the need: $18,000 from taxable cash and high basis shares with minimal capital gains, and $12,000 from the annuity in November, still fully taxable but under the guardrail. Then we staged $18,000 in January from the annuity to finish the trip budget in the new tax year. That simple timing shift avoided the IRMAA surcharge 2 years later and kept them in the same tax bracket. Estimated savings over 2 years: about $6,000 in premiums plus $4,000 in taxes. Over a decade. Repeating this rhythm with quarterly checkpoints is easily a 6-figure lifetime swing. Case 2. Partial 1035 plus partial annuitization. A 66-year-old widow had a $260,000 variable annuity with $110,000 basis and $150,000 gain, paying 2.5% in annual fees. She needed $1,200 per month steady and worried about IRMAA. We 1035 exchanged to a lower cost contract at roughly 1.1% all in, keeping basis and gain intact, no current tax. Then we annuitized $140,000 to create $1,250 a month with an exclusion ratio that made about 45% non-taxable. The remaining $120,000 stayed deferred for optional LIFO pulls when brackets allowed. Net effect: her annual taxable income from the annuity stream was around $8,250 instead of $15,000 to $20,000 if she'd done ad hoc withdrawals. That kept her under an IRMAA tier and smoothed Social Security taxation. The fee cut alone grew the reserve faster, making later withdrawals smaller or unnecessary. Over 10 years, the combined IRMAA and tax avoidance plus lower internal costs penciled out near $110,000 relative to her original just withdraw plan. Case 3, the mid-60s solo retiree doing Roth sequencing. He was 64, with $1.1 million in IRAs, a $210,000 non-qualified annuity holding $80,000 gain, and $140,000 in taxable. Social Security would start at 67, RMDs at 73. The mistake would have been pulling from the annuity because it's safe, stacking fully taxable LIFO income on top of IRA withdrawals later. Instead, we set a 12% per 22% bracket ceiling, filled it each year with a blend, living expenses from taxable cash and high basis lots, plus Roth conversions from the IRA to use up room in the 22% bracket without crossing IRMAA. The annuity stayed deferred. At 67, he delayed Social Security until 70, kept converting. At 70, we partial annuitized $100,000 of the non-qualified contract, generating payments with a blended taxable portion that fit under his guardrails. By RMD age, his IRA was smaller, so required distributions didn't create spikes. Result: his lifetime taxes and IRMAA surcharges were roughly $180,000 lower than the annuity first path, and he had a sizable Roth pool for healthcare surprises. Let's pull the mistake patterns you can spot in your plan. First, defaulting to the annuity for cash because it feels safe. Under LIFO, that's the most expensive dollar early on. Second, ignoring December timing. A withdrawal over the line on December 29th counts the same as one on June 1st, but you've got no time to offset. Third, paying high internal fees that slow growth, then paying taxes anyway. Fix that with a 1035 to a lower cost, more flexible contract. Fourth, annuitizing the entire contract when partial would blend income and preserve liquidity. Fifth, skipping Roth conversions in the low-income years before RMDs and Social Security crowd your brackets. Here's a quick, portable template to plug in with a pro. 1. Inventory basis, gain, current value, fees, free withdrawal, and surrender schedule for each annuity. 2. Create a 2-line guardrail, your marginal bracket ceiling, and your IRMAA red line. 3. Map fixed income. Then decide how much of your spending gap you'll cover from taxable, how much from IRA up to your ceiling, and whether to fill the rest with an annuity slice via partial annuitization. 4. If fees are high, run a 1035 comparison and get basis allocation in writing. 5. Schedule quarterly income checkpoints to avoid December oops moments. 6. Review beneficiary forms and spousal continuation now, not later. Do this, and you'll see the same pattern these clients saw. Fewer spikes, lower MAGI, smaller IRMAA risk, and a clear path to keep more of what you already saved. That's the entire point. Implementation playbook, step-by-step action plan. Let's turn this into action. So, you don't pay $1, you don't have to. We'll build a simple playbook you can run every year with guardrails that keep you out of trouble and quick wins you can use this week. Start with why. Clarity reduces procrastination. When you can see your basis, gain, brackets, and IRMAA lines on one page, decisions get easier and cheaper. No more guessing. What you're building, 4 deliverables: your document kit, your basis snapshot, your income map, and your tax guardrail sheet. Once these are set, every withdrawal, annuitization, or 1035, decision becomes plug and play. Step 1, gather documents. Pull the latest statement for each annuity, the original contract or application, any rider addendums, and a transaction history if you have it. Ask the carrier for a tax cost basis and premium history letter. Add last year's tax return, current year-to-date pay stubs or pension statements, Social Security benefit letter, and IRA/401k statements. Put all of this in a single folder called Annuity Tax Map. Step 2. Build your basis snapshot. For each non-qualified annuity, list total premiums paid, current value, and remaining gain, current value minus basis. Note the free withdrawal percentage, surrender schedule by year, rider fees, and whether partial annuitization is allowed. Write the remaining gain in big numbers at the top. That's your LIFO exposure. Step 3. Create your income map. Project this year's income, pensions, Social Security, IRA withdrawals or RMDs, dividends, interest, realized capital gains. Leave a line for proposed annuity withdrawals, taxable amount. Sum it to get estimated AGI, and then compute MAGI for IRMAA purposes. Remember, standard deduction lowers taxable income for brackets, but IRMAA uses MAGI before deductions. Step 4. Set your tax guardrails. On one page, draw 2 lines for the year. Your marginal bracket ceiling, where you want to stop adding ordinary income. Your IRMAA red line. Pick the tier you're managing to, then set a no-cross buffer of at least $2,000 below it. Write your Social Security taxation checkpoints and any capital gains percent window you want to preserve. Step 5. Decide your default sequence. Declare it in writing so you stick to it. Use taxable cash and high basis assets first. Fill remaining needs from IRA up to your bracket ceiling, coordinating with planned Roth conversions. Keep Roth as the shock absorber for spikes. Tap non-qualified annuities last, unless partial annuitization improves your annual taxable footprint with the exclusion ratio. Step 6. Run scenarios before any move. For each option, add hoc LIFO withdrawal, partial annuitization, or do nothing, plug the taxable amount into your income map. Ask 3 questions. Does this cross an IRMAA red line? Does this push me into a higher bracket? Do I have cheaper dollars elsewhere right now? Step 7. 30/60/90-day actions. In the next 30 days, complete the document kit, basis snapshot, and guardrail sheet. Schedule a joint meeting with your fiduciary planner and CPA. In 60 days, run 3 what-ifs, a small LIFO pull, a partial annuitization quote, and a 1035 comparison if fees are high. In 90 days, choose your path for this year. Defer, stage small withdrawals under guardrails, or annuitize a slice. Step 8. Meeting agenda with your pros. Bring 1 page per annuity. Ask, what's the LIFO impact of a $X withdrawal this year given my bracket and IRMAA? Would partial annuitization reduce my MAGI versus ad hoc withdrawals? If we 1035, how does basis allocate on a partial exchange? And what's the new all-in fee? Can we satisfy RMDs from other IRAs to preserve this annuities strategy? Where do Roth conversions fit without tripping IRMAA? Step 9. Guardrails to check each quarter. In March, June, September, and November, update year-to-date income. Replot your MAGI against IRMAA tiers and confirm bracket headroom. If you're too close to a line, shrink or shift withdrawals into January, or annuitize a slice to smooth the taxable portion. Step 10. Mistake-proof every distribution. Before requesting money, run a LIFO estimate. Remaining gain caps the taxable portion. If you're under 59.5 and no exception applies, add 10% to the tax you expect. Confirm surrender and MVA effects on cash. Verify that free withdrawal means no penalty, not no tax. If it still hurts, pause and call your CPA. Step 11. Coordinate with RMDs. Forecast next year's RMDs in November. Decide which IRA will fund them. so you don't stack IRA income on top of LIFO income accidentally. If a QLAC is suitable and available, model its impact on near-term RMDs and your guardrails. Step 12, year-end lock. By November 15th, freeze any optional withdrawals unless they've cleared your guardrails with room to spare. December surprises are where IRMAA ambushes happen. Quick win for this week. Build your tax guardrail sheet. 2 lines, 3 numbers, 1 rule. Write your bracket ceiling, your IRMAA red line, and your remaining gain. Rule: no withdrawal request until it clears all 3. This simple filter turns a complex problem into a yes/no decision you can trust. Professional help, who you need, and what to ask. You can do a lot with guardrails and a calculator, but the right pros make this painless and precise. You need 3 roles, and sometimes you'll only need 2. A CPA to validate tax math and timing. A fiduciary financial planner to design the withdrawal sequence, annuitization, and 1035 strategy. And, when needed, an insurance specialist to execute product mechanics and ensure the contract fits the plan. Why these roles matter. The CPA keeps you from crossing lines, brackets IRMA tiers and IAT traps, and signs off on exceptions like 72T or immediate annuity penalty relief. The fiduciary planner integrates every moving part, RMD sourcing, Roth conversions, annuity income blending, so your annual income calendar actually works. The insurance specialist translates features, surrender schedules, riders, partial annuitization, and 1035 logistics without triggering unintended taxes. Now, here's how to vet them quickly. Start with alignment and incentives. Ask a planner, are you a fiduciary 100% of the time? How are you paid? Fee only removes product bias. If they're fee-based or commission, that's not a deal breaker. Just insist on clear, written compensation for any annuity work. For a CPA, ask, how many clients do you advise with non-qualified annuities, annuitization, and IRMA planning? You want reps in this niche. Use these must-ask questions. On LIFO and exclusion ratio, show me how a $X ad hoc withdrawal compares to a $X annuitized payment for my MAGI and IRMA this year and next. On sequencing, what order will I tap taxable, IRA, Roth, and non-qualified annuity dollars? And what bracket ceiling and IRMA line are we managing to? On 1035 exchanges, if we do a partial 1035, how will basis and gain allocate? What waiting period do you recommend before any withdrawals to avoid tax issues? On RMDs, can we satisfy all IRA RMDs from non-annuity IRAs to preserve annuity features? If an income rider pays out, how does that count toward RMDs? On Medicare, which IRMA tier are we controlling for? And what's our $2,000 buffer? How will today's move impact premiums 2 years from now? On exceptions, if I need pre-59 1/2 cash, do I qualify for 72T, disability, or periodic payment treatment via annuitization? Red flags to walk away. They suggest just take it from the annuity. Without LIFO modeling, they can't explain exclusion ratio math. They dismiss IRMA as small. They push a new contract before calculating total cost of ownership and showing basis carryover in writing. Or they propose a partial 1035 with no documentation on basis allocation. Another red flag. They ignore December timing and don't run a 2-calendar-year split test for bigger withdrawals. Fee transparency checklist. Ask the planner for an annual dollar fee, not just a percentage. And what's included? Tax planning, Medicare coordination, annuity analysis. Ask the insurance specialist for the exact compensation on any recommended contract and a comparison against 2 lower-cost alternatives. Ask the CPA whether they'll run a pro forma tax return before you request a distribution. Quick win, run a 7-question interview this week. Are you a fiduciary at all times? How do you get paid in dollars? How many annuity tax cases did you handle last year? Show me LIFO versus annuitization for $X this year, including IRMAA. What's my bracket ceiling and IRMAA red line? How will a partial 1035 allocate basis and gain? Documented? What's our RMD sourcing plan? So we don't stack income. If they answer clearly with numbers, not buzzwords, you've found the right team. Recap, risks, and next steps. Lock in the gains you keep. Let's lock this in so you actually keep the savings we just opened up. The core idea is simple. When you understand how LIFO works, you can control when taxable earnings show up and keep them under your guardrails. That means fewer spikes, smaller IRMAA risk, and more predictable taxes year after year. Here are the 5 levers to keep front and center. First, basis clarity. Know premiums paid, current value, and remaining gain. Second, LIFO awareness. Non-qualified withdrawals hit earnings first until the gain is gone. Third, smart sequencing. Use taxable and IRA dollars up to your bracket ceiling before tapping non-qualified annuity LIFO income. Fourth, 1035 exchanges. Move to lower cost, more flexible contracts without triggering tax today. Fifth, annuitization. Use the exclusion ratio to blend basis and smooth taxable income when steady cash flow beats spikes. Now, the annual checklist that makes this automatic. Start with your income map for the year, pensions, Social Security, planned IRA withdrawals or RMDs, dividends, interest, and capital gains. Add a line for proposed annuity income. Next, run your IRMAA test. Plot MAGI against the tiers you're managing to and add a $2,000 buffer. Then confirm RMD sourcing, which IRA will fund it, so you don't stack RMDs on top of LIFO. Review, beneficiaries, and spousal continuation. A 5-minute form update can save heirs from compressed taxes and probate. Finally, glance at surrender schedules and rider fees to avoid paying avoidable penalties for cash you could get more efficiently elsewhere. Let me give you a quick cadence that works. March, June, September, November, 4 checkpoints. In March, set your baseline MAGI and bracket headroom. In June, adjust for dividends, gains, or unexpected income. In September, decide whether any annuitization this year would help smooth the fourth quarter. In November, freeze optional moves that risk IRMAA or bracket jumps unless your CPA's pro forma says you're still safe. We also need to address limits and risks so you're not blindsided. Product terms change, surrender schedules, MVAs, rider rules, so you need current paperwork before you act. Markets move, capital gains, or dividends could swell late in the year. Laws update, RMD ages, QLAC caps, IRMAA tiers, and tax brackets can shift. That's why the quarterly checkpoint and a November lock are non-negotiable. And remember, annuitization trades flexibility for predictability. If you'll need lump sums, consider partial annuitization and keep a reserve. The thing most people miss is how small timing moves create big lifetime savings. Splitting a withdrawal across 2 calendar years, switching a one-time LIFO pool into a partial annuitized stream, or sourcing your RMD from a different IRA. These are one-line changes that protect thousands. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Test each move against your guardrails before money leaves the contract. Your next steps this week are fast and concrete. 1. Request a cost basis and premium history letter for each non-qualified annuity. 2. Pull current statements and note the remaining gain in big numbers at the top. 3. Sketch your tax guardrail sheet with your bracket ceiling and IRMAA red line plus a $2,000 buffer. 4. Schedule a 30-minute call with your CPA or planner to run a pro forma that includes 1 small LIFO withdrawal and 1 partial annuitization quote. 5. Check beneficiary forms and confirm spousal continuation in writing. In the next 30 days, finish your document kit and basis snapshot. In 60 days, review 1035 options if your all-in fees are high or flexibility is poor, and get written basis allocation rules for any partial exchange. In 90 days, choose, defer, and stage small LIFO pulls under your guardrails, annuitize a slice for a smoother tax footprint, or execute a 1035 to upgrade the tool before you turn on income. Set the plan, and your retirement turns from reactive to deliberate. That's how you keep the gains you've already earned. Master LIFO, set guardrails and sequence withdrawals, and you'll keep more income every year without surprise taxes or IRMAA spikes. If you want the advanced coordination playbook for RMD, timing, and Roth conversions, watch the next video now and subscribe for more Medicare tax strategies. Drop a comment with your biggest annuity tax question. I'll cover the top one in a future lesson.